Good morning, students. Welcome to lecture 2 of stakeholders. We have already discussed about the meaning of stakeholders and shareholders in an organization and their role and their positive as well as negative impact on the organization. So today we will continue, but before that I would like to explain the difference between stakeholder and shareholder. As you can see, stakeholder versus shareholder. Stakeholder has an interest in the performance of an organization for a long term. Stakeholders are not always shareholders. They can be owners, employees, suppliers and vendors. Whereas shareholder owns part of a public company through shares or stock. Shareholders are always stakeholders, but stakeholders are not always shareholders. They can be suppliers, they can be vendors, they can be owners, they can be employees. And they are interested in the long run. Stakeholders and shareholders, they are not interested in the long run. So I hope this is the vital difference between stakeholders and shareholders and it is clear to you. Next I move on to the difference between stakeholders and customers. As you can see, I have listed down the differences. So the first difference is they have a financial stake in the business firm, or they have a financial interest in the business firm. Parallelly, they do not have financial stake. That means they do not share any financial interest in the organization. They supply financial capital. They owe capital. They do not supply any capital. They do not buy goods and services from the organization, whereas the customers, they buy, or they are the buyers of goods and services of the organization. As they supply financial capital, therefore they take risk, whereas they do not take any kind of risk in the organization. They share profit in the form of interest, dividend, wages and salaries, whereas they do not share profit of the commercial organization. So there are 5 differences which I have listed down. You can just go through it. Next I move on to the difference between shareholders and creditors. As you can see, I have listed down the 5 differences, major differences. So the first one is shareholders are internal stakeholders. Why? Because they owe to the firm or owe to the organization. They are the supplier of finance. They supply capital. They are external. They work externally in the organization. Second, they invest in the capital of the company. They only give loan to the company. They assume greater risk of loss because they had already provided capital to the commercial organization, and risk of loss is less. They share profits of the company as dividends at the end of the year. They only receive interest on their loan which they have given to the organization. And the last is they are the members of the company having voting rights, and they are not the members, so they don't have any kind of voting rights. I hope the differences are clear. Next we move on to the meaning of internal stakeholders. They are involved in the business firm from within the organization. So they work internally. They are the owners, shareholders, employers and employees. Since they are suppliers of capital, they have important stake in the company. They assume the risk of of business and participate in the profits and overall management of the company. Employers means one who offers employment. An employee provides physical and mental efforts for successful working of the organization. For example, in our institution, that is Kerala Public School, the employer is the management, our director, and the employees are the teachers, the staffs, office staffs, etc. So, I hope the meaning of internal stakeholder is clear to you. So basically you need to focus on the important keywords. So what are the important keywords? They work from within the organization. They are the owners, shareholders, employers and employees. They are the suppliers of capital and they have important stake in the company. They assume the risk of the business and participate in the profits and overall management of the company. Next, who are the employers? Who offers employment? An employee provides the physical and the mental efforts for the successful working of the organization. Next, we move on to external stakeholders. They contribute to the business organization from outside the organization, so they function externally. They consist of the suppliers, creditors, dealers, competitors, government, media and the society. Next we move on to the types of stakeholders. There are two types, primary and secondary. Who are the primary stakeholders? Who have more frequent and closer interaction with the organization. For example, owners, creditors, shareholders, employees, employers, etc. Who are the secondary stakeholders? They do not have frequent and closer interaction with the organization. For example, government, society and media. I hope whatever we have discussed today is clear to you. Hope to see you in the next class. Thank you.